As I got asked many times about my overlay at New State Mobile, I thought it's a good idea to make a video about it. So here is my guide about my overlay which I'm using at New State Mobile. Thank you everybody for being here again, really appreciate it. If someone else is new, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for free to my channel. Before we start into it, a little bit of a disclaimer. This overlay maybe looks totally weird for you, but this is the best practice overlay which I'm using right now, and I'm using it already since like 5-6 months, besides some little adjustments where I felt comfortable with right now. And with like every setting, this might work for me, this might work for you as well, but every setting, especially the overlay setting, is really different for each player, because we all have different sizes of fingers, we all have a different size of a display, maybe some have the same, but we have different usage of our fingers. For example, I'm playing with 4 fingers, I'm using my 2 thumbs and my 2 index fingers, and I'm using, in addition to that, gyroscope, but only when I'm scoping in. So let me explain and show you where is which button. If you start into it, on the bottom left side we can see a little bit opacity set to 0. That is for sure an issue here. The running button, I've made it as small as possible and put it to the bottom left side where I can't accidentally click it, because it was somewhere before on this area, and when I was then trying to run around and was shooting, somehow accidentally this part of my finger pressed this button and I started to move and couldn't really do something. That's why this button didn't move all the way down to the bottom, that I can't hit it. On top of it, we got the inventory button, quite easy, accessible, should work. On the top left side we got for sure the shooting or punching buttons. Quite obviously my left index finger is pressing these, and I have both applied there just to have a little bit more space when I'm a little bit in focus or not that much focus, that I will still hit the shoot button. And beside of that there's the rolling button. You need to activate it in the settings, as when I'm jumping out somewhere I'm most likely not shooting, so I have access to that roll button while most likely I am moving. That's why I've put it there, just feeling comfortable with it. On the top right side we have basically the aiming buttons, which on the top right side we have basically the aiming buttons which are used by my right index finger. So we have there the straight aiming button, we have there leaning to the right as well as to the left, and this is working pretty good. I've changed that lately as I saw how it was implemented at Rainbow Six, and with that setting I'm feeling quite comfortable. Left of it, it is the jumping button. Sometimes I'm pressing accidentally leaning to left instead of jumping, so that might be a little bit negative aspect of it, but for me it is working pretty good. And down under we have Brawling, a little bit smaller, and we have for sure spectating, which most of you won't use, but as this button is set to transparent or to 0 opacity, most likely, I can't find it sometimes recording the review videos. That is a negative thing at my overlay, but to not block any side for you, it is right there. Then we have already the first button which I'm using most likely with the thumb. Yep, this is the getting out of a vehicle button. You might think this is quite on the height, but as I'm holding like this, I have much more access with my thumbs, like to nearly 2/3 of the size from the bottom to the top, and 1/3 using with the index fingers. As this button is transparent too, I miss it sometimes, but for the overlay this is better for you to view. Reloading right next to it, next button with the right thumb, as well as crouching in the bottom middle, and all the space in between I'm using for manually aiming, but to be honest, manually aiming, I'm most likely using gyroscope anyway. Beside, I'm not in the scope mode. I use for sure my thumb there to aim. Left to it, the grenades and the status bar for my lungs and the other things right there. They are quite standard, maybe a little bit moved to the right. Next to it we got the pistol as well as the tactical slot. They are all transparent normally, I can show it you later. And we got there the minimap. A little bit smaller, a little bit moved to a different location to give you a good overview. In TPP this is working pretty fine, we can see the character pretty good. especially the new Scarecrow outfit. But in first person, the weapon side is a little bit blocked. I should use a different one for first person, but I can't use two different overlays for the different modes. We are playing it one day that, the next day that, and if I would use two different overlays, I would be totally confused. On the left side of it, we got both of the guns, and for me, this was pretty hard to set them there and make them transparent, or set the opacity to 0. First, I couldn't hit them really well, but after a little bit usage of it, it is working pretty good. And to be honest, just beside changing to single fire or at the MG3 to the lower fire rate, everything is working pretty good. On the left side of it, shield, as well as status of the helmet and the vest, most likely transparent as well as my healing utility and the switching button to TPP on the left bottom side. You can't see that this is there right at the edge next to my face. And we have there the status about my life. You can't see it that good, but I can see it on my display, so I guess this is alright. And we have some additional buttons in the middle for carrying, reviving here. We have the trunk in the top middle position, there it is. And we have for sure the emote button right next to it. Can't click it right now. But this button, the emote button, maybe not in the best position. I can't access really the top emotes there. So these are my buttons, these are my overlays. So that's it, how it's looking on first person perspective. I have a really good feeling with it. And please remember, everybody of us is using a different device, have different fingers, different sizes, different usage of it. So this is working for me, might work for you as well, but might not work. You need to change some things here and find your best way for your overlay, and then you will improve your gameplay pretty easy. So try out different things like I did. I started with 2 fingers and I was like, I will never play with more than 2 fingers, this is too heavy, I'm too old for this. But then switched to 3 fingers with the punching buttons on the left top side. Aiming was somewhere different with my right thumb. And now here we are with 4 fingers, and I'm pretty happy with it, did improve with it. And that's a thing I definitely can recommend for you. Now it's your turn, guys. If you have anything left over, any questions, any suggestions, please write them down below in the comment section. Thank you, guys, and I hope I could help you with that so that you can improve step by step. Thank you, guys, and see you again pretty soon.